Remember that record that you bought me like 2 years ago? Well, I just remembered that it's sitting in the closet. So I called you up just to tell you I've been meaning to listen to that. I've been meaning to listen to that. Why don't you come over and talk about it? Ooh, why don't you come over and talk about it?
Perfect.
Oh man, oh man. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to I've Been Meaning to Listen to That, the podcast where we go through albums we've been meaning to listen to and use as a conduit to learn about each other and our guests. I'm Andrew Ambrose Lee, and we got a very special guest here, very respected, very renowned, just making waves in the online space for so long. She's the author of, obviously, Stories from My Timeline, as well as a writer, host, journalist behind the new iHeart podcast show, Rebel Hearts, a show where Akilah Hughes, no spoilers to who the guest is, travels back to Florence, Kentucky in hopes of changing her former high school's racially charged mascot from the Boone County Rebels to the Boone County Biscuits. It's Akilah Hughes.
Hello. Yes, it's me. Listen to Rebel Spirit. It is coming out every week. I'm obsessed. But thank you for having me.
Of course. It's been I'm so thrilled. I'm so I really respect your work. I respect your voice. I respect your writing. I've really been enjoying your Substack.
Thanks.
Yeah, let's talk. But before we get into Megan Thee Stallion, which is the topic of our conversation today, let's for those who might not know what Rebel Heart is, what is the show and what is it about?
Totally. Okay, so it's called Rebel Spirit.
Rebel Spirit. Oh shoot! Wait,
it's okay. You can edit it.
I think I messed it up with iHeartRadio. Oh, my
it's
apologies.
all good.
Rebel Spirit. Rebel Spirit. Yeah.
Yes. So Rebel Spirit is a labor of love. And it kind of, it in many ways is my villain origin story. So I grew up in Florence, Kentucky, which is like a small suburb of Cincinnati. The Cincinnati airport is literally in Florence, Kentucky. And so very close by. And my high school had a Confederate general mascot named Mr. Rebel, which is, hard, I think, as like a Black kid in a school with not that many Black kids to sort of rectify and feel represented by.
Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Not their best. And so, I remember in high school thinking it was messed up but I was also a high schooler. And so that was sort of the beginning and end of how that was going to go for me. And then I went back for my high school reunion in 2015 and, basically, it was in the midst of the sort of racial reckoning where we were getting rid of Confederate monuments anyway. And there was this shooting by a white supremacist named Dylan Roof at a church in Charleston. And so his manifesto came out the day that I flew in, and it had all these Confederate flags and all of these racial slurs. And I was just immediately sort of like, why am I coming back to this high school reunion? Like, it's almost like I memory hold all of the bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm excited to see my classmates. And I'm like, but also I'm going back to Kentucky to a school that absolutely celebrated these same sort of images. And so I wrote about it back then. And there was all of this backlash in my hometown because it was in the local paper. And then 2020 happened, and we all know how that went. And so I guess the long story long on all of this was that it's time. Enough time has passed since I wrote that article. Enough time has passed since that white supremacist rally in Charlottesville. Enough time has passed since they got rid of the physical mascot in the school. They did that in 2017. And so now it's they don't have a physical mascot. They're still the rebels. The kids don't relate to it. And it almost feels like they gave them the choice of racism or nothing. And it's okay, well, I think you all should just give them the option to have a good mascot. And so that's what Rebel Spirit is. It's a very long-winded way of saying it is a 14-episode podcast where I'm really taking the school to task and getting to the bottom of these sort of hateful mascots that plague our country.
Yeah, what I like about it so far is you're really laying the groundwork of just why is it so hard for something to change? Why does it take so long? What is the and it ties into I love the bit about how the Confederate symbols in the manifesto led to the shooting, and then that's why we have to like, you know, change the thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it is like, I mean, what one thing that is like heartening is like I'm a comedian, so of course I want to change it to something silly. Who knows if they'll actually go for it, right?
Mhm.
But it also, I think, just the podcast itself kind of reveals how ridiculous it is anyway that people are so gung ho about a mascot. Like it's 80-year-old people who have no connection to the school anymore being like, I'm a rebel for life. And like, it's about James Dean, which like, no, it isn't.
Yeah.
It's, it's just like, it is this thing where like all of the hindrances to the change only highlight how ridiculous it is that they're like attached to it anyway. Like it's a stuffed
Yeah.
animal at the end of the day.
Right.
Let it go.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, like let's talk about Megan Thee Stallion then. This is a music show.
Yes.
And yeah, I just we're doing our hip hop like month of episodes, and we wanted to talk
Fun.
about a female MC, and we just like reached out to you, not knowing for sure if you had like any context, any relationship to her art or to her work. But I was wondering what your preconceived notions, your history is with Megan Thee Stallion, if you have.
Yeah, I mean, I totally do. So I'm, like you said, very online. So I've been aware of Megan for years now. And I mean, I don't even think she's 30 yet. So like, it is funny to see like this
Yeesh.
person who is so young, who's sort of had this really major career that really blossomed starting online. And so, you know, I think especially for women who rap, like it is much harder to be seen, to be heard. And I think she's just the kind of artist who kicks the door in. Like I remember the first thing I saw from her was a freestyle she was doing, I think, on like a radio show. And it was phenomenal. Like the bones were there. And I was just like so curious about who she was because she obviously has this country accent. She's from the South. I'm from the South. And so I looked into her more, and then I just thought she was so funny online. Like she's so outwardly an anime fan. She like dresses for that. She has like a deep knowledge about it. And in a way, I felt like it was almost like, oh, finally, because I think in the Black community, there has been like for a long time, and especially in hip hop, there has been this relationship to anime that like people will reference, but it just hasn't been sort of mainstreamed. And I think she just like kicked the door and was like, yes, you can be hot and talented and love all of these different animes. And so I just thought she was so cool. And like, this is going back to those sort of Tumblr days. And we've been waiting for an album. Like she's had her EPs, she's had plenty of features. She's had a few singles. So it's like this was sort of her moment. And I think she nailed it. So yeah, I mean, I've been a fan for a long time and I listened the day it came out. I'm a big New Music Friday head. So
Ooh.
I remember when it dropped, I was like, let me go ahead and listen through.
Absolutely. Yeah. Megan Thee Stallion was never like my like favorite hip hop artist at all time, but I do think my perspective on it, she's like profoundly underrated. And as an MC, as like a businesswoman, and
Yes.
like she's like she's someone I thoroughly enjoy and respect and appreciates. I think there's a strong case of her being top 5 MCs of right now, of like just 2024, of like just the act of rapping. She is so exceptional at like the framing device I came up with for her on this album is she's kind of like female Jay-Z circa 2001, 2004.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's like that's when he's in his bag. That's like post Space Jam ghostwriting. That is Jay-Z.
Oh, that was his peak. The Space Jam.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The Bugs Bunny rap. I mean, listen, that song goes hard to this day, but like I will say that Blueprint era, when he retires and comes back out of retirement, that's a good era for Jay-Z. That's him, I think, peak.
Yeah. Like this is him as like an artist. Like I see him more now as like a mogul, and like he'll like post retirement, like he doesn't really have anything to prove. He's doing it for fun. And like now he's like, I'm not gonna rap until I have something to say now. Like, but like my like framing here is like they both have this tough, driving yet effortless flow and lyricism brimming with cleverness, like their work ethic. the stable of producers they have. Like
Mhm.
Jay-Z had Just Blaze, Timbaland, Bink, Rick Rubin, Kanye, and then Megan with
Mhm.
Honorable C Note, Buddha Bless This Beat, Take Keef, Juicy J, Lil Jude made this beat. And
Yes.
the last thing is just like their ability to flip and hustle like a racist white supremacist culture
Yeah.
that's meant to like subjugate them and like flip it into profit, power, and pleasure. And
Totally.
like the difference between him and Megan Thee Stallion though is like, oh, Megan Thee Stallion has to deal with like misogyny, misogynoir, and she's still
Mhm.
able to flip that too. So which is
Yeah.
and perform like Jay-Z's not really like a performer in that way.
Yeah. 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 I mean, the thing is, look, when he was coming up, concerts were just a different animal. It was like, okay, you can like headline a stadium show, but like there's not going to be some like larger conceit to what the show is. It's just going to be like, here's the song. And now it's like, you have to do Renaissance. You have to do the Eras tour. Like, you have to do something that is, so like worth the money. Cause at this
Mhm.
point, it's like hundreds of dollars to see these people for one night.
Yeah, like tickets are just like five, like
Right. I'm
a
like, some
nickel or
people like
whatever.
exactly. It was like, oh, I got these like, and also I feel like they were always given away on radio stations. Like
Yeah.
back
Oh
in
my
like the 90s and
goodness.
early 2000s, I don't think I ever paid to go to a concert. It was like I called into Kiss 107 and I got 3 tickets for free and I just had to pick them up. Like there's a lot less of that sort of promotion now.
Nowadays it's just like an apartment or Beyonce tickets. Like
Exactly. I'm like, I guess I could live at home until I'm 50. That's fine. What's the difference? Yeah, totally.
what about this album? Like you said you were waiting for a debut. You
Yeah.
said and she had like albums before, but like
Yeah.
this feels like a way more personal statement, I guess.
Right.
You
I
know,
mean,
like
this is like the main album. I would say the others are like far closer to EPs. Like, and especially for rappers, I think you can tell the difference when there's like not really a chorus. Like, it tends to be more just like, here's how I rap, here's a bunch of different flows, and like, here's sort of where I'm thinking, versus now it's like, this has to be commercial. Like, several of these songs are hits that can play on the radio.
mm,
So it's not necessarily about how good she's rapping in them. It has to be like, is this a commercially viable album? And so I went into it thinking about that. Like, I mean, I obviously just want to enjoy it, but I think that that is, of course, like the next step in anybody's career when they've already done, a feature on a Beyonce song. It's like, okay, well, like, can you stand alone? And so I think in, that huge song with Cardi B, WAP. So it's like, I
yeah.
think that there was a lot of pressure on her to like deliver with this album. I also think that, with what happened with Tory Lanez, and there's sort of just this like backlash to her in some hip hop circles. I think that she had and Nicki Minaj always going after her. Like there just happened to be so much drama in the lead up to this that it was like, oh, she's got to land a plane. She can't just put
Yeah.
out like the milk toast beats. Like this has to prove something. And I think like immediately, yeah. She did.
Yeah, yeah. I think that you kind of like went into it a little more, but like that touches on thematic territory. Like, what do you feel like this album is about beyond what you just said of like this is the runway, this is everything she's had to like come up against. What do you think this album
Mhm.
is about, though, generally?
I mean, I think it sort of continues along with themes that she has absolutely taken ownership of. So, like female sexuality and not being like victimized by it or like stereotyped because of it, but like owning it and being like, you wish you could have some of this is like that is Megan's lane always. And like being hot, but being taken seriously, I think is like a personal struggle, but also like, I think it's her struggle. I think that like, it's why it's been so hard for Black women who rap to like get the same sort of accolades is that like, because hip hop sort of started as a boys club where they were rapping about like how women weren't really worth much and shouldn't be taken seriously and how like, it was more about quantity over quality of women. Um, and I think that she really just flips that. Like she's like, I
Yeah.
am the quality, and like it's your loss, and like you would do anything to be with me. And so I think that there is something within that she sells much better than most other like Black women who are rapping right now. Um, I also think that like, I think that there is a level of like humor and punchlines in hip hop. And so like her being clever is not surprising, but I think that like that was also a main message of it is like she's like we're all in Megan's world. You know what I mean? Like it's her world. We're just living in it. And yeah, I think it's that. And I also just think it's like she is basically saying like you're going to respect me after this album. And so like
Yeah.
song after song it's like yeah, she's she's not kidding. Like she is making the demand and she is absolutely as good as she says she is.
Yeah. I in the line in the song Boa, she's like, bitch, I'm really hip hop, like something on TikTok. So like it's like
Mhm.
she's kind of like making the delineation, like I've been hip hop, I am this clever, I could out rap you,
Yeah.
I can outsell you, but also I like you desire me. Also, I could do all this other stuff, and I can make TikTok hits too. Like
Right,
I
exactly. And I think that that's such an important point because I think entertainment generally is in this very weird space because of streaming and because of the internet. And so you have people who are TikTok musicians who make 15-second songs essentially, where you don't have to know the rest of it. It's just like if this 15 seconds works well enough, then like they will be able to eat for a generation. And so and I think that she was often reduced to that, especially with Savage becoming like a Fortnite dance. And, like people thinking, oh, well, you actually just do this. Like you're more of a meme rapper than an actual rapper. But I think she, like she says it and she really backs it up because, I think that she's had hits from this album that have gone on to become huge TikTok dances, but also like she's rapping at a level and like elevating the form in a way that I think we haven't really seen in a while. Like hip hop had been a little stale for a minute. It's been a lot of mumblecore. It's been a lot of like Lil Somebody. It's
yeah,
been a
like
lot of like wishing Travis Scott wasn't an asshole. Like you know what I mean? It's a lot of Kanye is an asshole. And so I
yeah, for
think
sure.
like we've been waiting for some breath of fresh air, and that's her. She's like the one person who's doing all of it well right now.
The line in Rattle where she says he fucked Megan and now he's a topic. These think they're lowering the value. All this free promo, I'm turning it a profit. Is the
Yep.
it's the Jay-Z thing of like I'm
Mhm.
flipping this like system where we're devalued, where
Mhm.
men they could sleep with a lot of women. Like Lil
Yep.
Kim talked about it in the Christina
Mhm.
Aguilera song,
Yep.
where Lil Kim's like, why is it
They
that like
mistake us for whores.
yeah
Why spin
exactly
mine when I can spin yours?
yeah
Yes, 100%. I'm right here with you. I'm obsessed with the fact that we are quoting my era of music. But yeah, it is, and it's like that has been a theme forever. Like you go back to Lil Kim, you go back to like MC Light. I mean, there has always been Queen Latifah. Like there has been this segmenting of women who rap as less serious, less about getting money, like sort of a novelty where I'm like, it seems like in 2024, we now know who is serious. And like, if you look at the landscape of Billboard this past year, women are on top in every genre. So I think that like it's not just telling that she would go there in her music. It is also reflective of the world that we now live in. And like what does it say about the future of the business where beyond just Billboard, look at the tours. Like who's selling out stadiums? Who's canceling their tours? A
yeah
lot of guys can't get anybody to
yeah
come.
yeah and it's like that line is like the little Kim thing. She's asking like, why is it this way? And then Megan's like, hey, guess what, I realized the dream, and like I realized
Mhm.
I was able to turn the profit off of this system where like where Tory Lanes like would in a we live in a world where the Tory Lanes of the world get away with doing what they do, and then
Yeah,
like the women are punished. And then like now it's like but like now it's like he's a loser. He's
yeah,
like
totally. He's in jail.
no one cares about his music, and he's in jail. Like yeah, he's a
Right.
bozo. Like
Right. And it's like the funny thing about Tory Lanez is like maybe he was on the same track as her at some point. But the reality is no one has a favorite Tory Lanez song. His name doesn't come up in conversations when you talk about like the most impactful rappers of ever. And so like I just don't know. I mean, I think he really has his bets and he was wrong. He was wrong.
yeah. But that like but he used violence and then he lied about it.
Yep.
And then like tried to like change the narrative about her. Like it's a pretty clear case situation.
Yeah.
And then like they try to like change the narrative around her so that she was the bad guy, and it didn't work. You know, it's
yeah,
like
exactly. Usually the person who gets shot isn't the bad guy.
Yeah.
Just putting it out there. Like
I know it's so,
usually.
but that's like it's like what you're talking about with the rebel. Like that's so absurd. Like that's so like you're protecting this. Like no one cares about Tory. No one cares about the mascot. No one cares about Tory Lanez. You know.
Right. Like I honestly think like the world is better off without both. And like I don't feel like music has missed a step since he's gone to jail. You know what I mean? No one's in the club like, oh, I wish that Tory Lanez was putting out a new album. Like nobody cares. So it's just like, you know, and imagine if that had stuck, if she hadn't gotten more opportunities, if, you know, and how great she had to be for that to be the case. Like the reality is there are probably lots of women that will never know their names because they got kicked out of the industry because of their association with one guy who had way more clout than they should have had. And so I think that it's a testament to her character that not only did she stick around, but I would say objectively is winning.
But it's also like the people who aren't as talented and brilliant as Megan Thee Stallion, they should also, if they're like, you know, they were wrong, they should be like their situation should be rectified. You know, it's also
100%.
like unfortunate that like you have to be that exceptional to like be seen a certain way. Yeah.
It's really messed up. I mean, if we bring it back to Rebel Spirit, it's like, I'm not the first person to say that this mascot's messed up. I'm just the person who was able to get a podcast greenlit, you know what I mean? Yeah. And suddenly it's like, oh, we actually have to listen. I mean, I had to do decades of other career stuff to get someone to believe in me enough to be able to do this. And so I think that like, it is this sort of testament to just how hard it is, I think, in every industry, to be taken seriously and given a platform, especially when there is some sort of establishment that doesn't have your back.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like she, like the other comparison to Jay, like this is my last like kind of theme thing before we get into like the songs. But she's a really savvy businesswoman in that she's kind of being a hottie, quote unquote, is a lifestyle brand. It's like Apple, you know, it's not unlike Apple where like, say if like Saweetie came out with like, hey, look at Saweetie Gatorade, you know, here's my picture of it. When he gets sweaty, you know, drink that. Yeah. But like, it's not, but like Megan has like, so say someone wants to be like, hey, I want to be as confident as Megan Thee Stallion. What do I do? Okay, get this skincare product, get this hair product. You know, here's my partnership with Planet Fitness, but hotties don't like deprive ourselves of fun things. So here's the drink, here's the alcohol thing, and here's like Popeyes, and then
I think she was in like a Cheetos commercial for the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then also like here are the mental health resources too. Like I'm also partnering with this too. So it's really, really like people, it's honestly like not a lot of people are that smart to like have that cohesion of like synergy between like their dealings and stuff. Like Jack Harlow has like New Balance and KFC. Like that's not really that's not an identity.
Right. And it's not like called like Jack Shoes or like Jack Chicken Strips. It's, you know, it's like it's a brand deal more so than it is like a collaboration. Yeah. Also, Jack, if you end up hearing this, come on, Rebel Spirit. He went to a high school that was the Rebels and they changed.
Wow.
I think they're now like the Hawks or the Royals or something, but he's also from Kentucky. So we have to shout him out.
We have to like,
exactly. It's literally illegal anytime you mention Kentucky not to forget. I cannot go to jail for this.
Any other thematic things you'd like to bring up before we get into some songs?
I mean, I guess like the final thing would be like a real focus on sort of just like an international sound. She's, I think, one of the main rappers today that is like leaning into collaborating with people who are huge artists in other countries, Japan, Korea. And I think that like there's a reason why she is like her star is rising, and it's because she's not just sequestered to the US. Like I think that we now have a global music scene. I think it's safe to say. And so, you know, I would say that like the only thing comparable would be like other stars who do that. So like Rosalia, Bad Bunny, like people who are crossing over. Because I think, at the end of the day, if it is about like raising awareness about you as a creative person and also like making money, like everybody's money works here. And so I think that like instead of running for that or trying to be pigeonholed, he's like, no, like I'm happy to collaborate and like let's make a sound
Yeah.
that's actually unique. Like let's change the game.
Her relationship to anime and Japanese culture is very similar to her relationship to hip hop, where there is like, oh, she knows a little more than just like the baseline thing, but it's like she'll pass the name 5 animes test.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But like also like, oh, you got like Big Crit and like UGK on, like those are like a little deeper cuts than like, and like
right.
and then there's like a good cultural exchange happening with like the K-pop like typically generously borrows a lot from Black culture.
Yeah.
And then
like R&B. It's kind
yeah,
of fully like K-pop now. Yeah.
but then it's like, okay, fine. Megan Thee Stallion could go arigato.
Yes, exactly.
We can let her do that. It's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Without it being like
Finally at a place
vampiric
where-
or like vulturally or anything like that. Yeah.
Exactly. Where it's like, I do think that there is a deep respect within it, where it's like, I'm collaborating with people. I'm not just like using the imagery and like, trying to get like these points or even like not score points, but just like using it as a costume. It's like, no, I'm going to collaborate with the artists who are actually relevant in this space. And like, we're going to make a song that, actual fans of these things and these genres can vibe with. So that's kind of cool. And that would be my last one. It's just like the international vibe of it all. I was like excited to not feel like, here's another album that's specifically about whatever person's hometown.
Yeah. And that's like not my complaint, but just an observation. I'm just like, oh, this is like a Deep South song and then a song about Miami and then Japan. It's like kind of like which like as like it feels like this is like this does feel like her first like real like album of like just like this is the real her on some level, but also here's some hits. Here's a TikTok song. Here's me rapping. Like so let's go through some highlight songs and lowlight songs right after this quick break. Click. And we're back here to talk about Megan Thee Stallion's Megan. Let's talk about some highlight songs. Akilah, what is a highlight song from this album? We'll do like one or two each, like two, three each, like, and then we'll like, and then like do lowlights, and then straight observations. We could go back to some songs you like or just things you observed and stuff, and then conclude. Like Akilah, what's a highlight song?
I mean, I think it would be silly not to start with Mamushi. I think it is like just fantastic. Is that the one that she actually has a music video for too?
I haven't seen it yet, so I believe so. It's
I think maybe it was Otaku Hot Girl that she did the music video for, but they're all there. I mean, those two are like major for me, but I would say that like Hiss was the initial single. It rules, but like Mamushi was when I was like, I'm in. Hold on, I'm gonna like play it for myself because I'm such a dork. I'm like, let me just hear it really quick. Hold on. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Sorry, just making sure I had the right song. I think from the first beat, it is has the biggest hit potential. It sounds like, I mean, the beat's really original. It sounds really good. I also think that it's like cleverly placed in the album. So like you've heard a lot of her, I think, rapping really hard before that. Then Bo is huge. And then we get to Mamushi. She's like singing in Japanese. Everybody's doing their dances to it on TikTok. It's become this huge hit. But what's actually more clever to me is that the following song is Accent with Glorilla, who's another Southern Black woman rapper killing it. And it's funny because she talks about how people don't like her accent. And I think that this was actually in reference to the fact that like she knew that there would be nerd boys being like, she's not even saying the words in Japanese correctly. Like, I think that it was like a real play and so iconic. And like, I'm looking at the numbers on Spotify. It's the biggest hit on the album.
Mm-hmm. I would say like just maybe because I'm a annoying hipster, like that's my low light on the album. Just personally,
Mhm.
like of like all this, I just like think she's a phenomenal MC. But I just feel like this is the one song where like she did it for TikTok, not as
Yeah.
much for hip hop. You know, TikTok songs are great. You know, like
Right.
I don't like a lot of great music comes from TikTok. I'm not looking it down at the platform or like people who are just like making great music and made for that. But this is like the one I think like Otaka Hot Girl does is like oh she's like has some really great like lines here, like I'm a
Mhm.
weeb and a baddie is really funny.
Yeah.
I'm not fighting with a Naruto AV. Like so that's so funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is really funny. And it's like, I think maybe the defining characteristic of this moment of like pop and rap, because I think it's all sort of merging anyway, is that it's funny. Like, I think that like the Sabrina Carpenters of the world are making jokes. I think that like Chappell Roan is very funny in her songs. And I think that like Megan is very much the same. Like, there are moments where you're like, I see this, it's very online, I get it. It might not be something that like an old hip hop head relates to, but it's like for the new generation who's literally spending all day on the internet, all of this makes sense. And so yeah, I agree with you. I think that that's right.
But it's also like let's the like bitch I'm really hip hop, like let's bring back rap into the our current 2004 culture. Let's bring that back
Totally.
into like and also like rap refrains like in the
Yeah.
song Rattle. It's a great rap refrain in there and like but so there's some songs where it's just like rap itself and
Mhm.
but yeah, like I would say a highlight for me is Rattle for sure. Like
Yeah.
it's the strongest political statement.
Yes.
Like this idea that like um the idea of like you earn the seats in the fan club, which is so funny. It's like the idea of I can out rap you, I could outsell you. We had sex once, but it was mediocre. You're such a
Mhm.
loser. All you think about is having sex with me. It's like
Yes.
and it's like she makes men feel a little tastes of what how men try to make women feel. Like
Yes.
Drake has that line in that song, like "Don't make me take you back to Metrohausen," which is like a
Yeah.
vile, sick,
Horrible thing to
disgusting
say.
line. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
like so like she like emasculates these men, but instead of men going like, "Huh, I don't like feeling this way. Maybe I shouldn't do that to other people," they
Yeah.
like they try everything to like discredit her. They like try to
Right.
like like just like, oh, she only has this one flow, she only raps about this one thing, she's not a real anime nerd, like all this stuff.
Exactly. Like, they're really like scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to like, I mean, any kind of backlash that they're trying to drum up, because the truth is it's like you can't, like, you are a hypocrite if you're upset with when she says it, but not when someone like Drake says it, not when someone like Kanye says it, not when someone like Jay-Z says it, frankly. Like,
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
the entirety of the genre is a as like a it is an art form about, I think, self-confidence to a fault. And so it's like, how can I feel like I'm better than somebody is the name of the game. And it's like, if she feels better than you because you can't date her now that she's had sex with you, then like that to me qualifies as hip hop. Like, can't write it off. Like, we absolutely do that. We stunt on our hoes. Um I mean, I guess like in the same vein, I really liked Where Them Girls At, but I liked it. I mean, I think her rapping in it is fine. It also felt more like a TikTok song to me. It is more of a like, to me, it's just more of a like song that would play at a party. It felt like it was rhythmic in a way that was like easy to rap along to, which I think a lot of rappers and like hip hop heads can like sort of kill the genre by being like, I just want her to like freestyle all the time. And it's like, yes, but also like people go to concerts where they can rap along and
Yeah,
sing
yeah.
along. Like, there's a reason pop music is like simple.
I will
Like, if they're going against like Twista and you have to say a billion words in a minute, like, you're gonna have a hard time getting the radio listens. It's just
Mhm.
true.
I will say like I did go to her show, like I went to the most recent tour. It was so but there was like, oh my god, I cannot follow this, like it's so
Yeah.
like I cannot rap along, like this is
Yeah.
so
There's so much of it. So
yeah.
it's like she has to rest it every now and then with these sort of simple songs. And I'm like, yeah, Where the Girls At is just like
Where the
really
girls
simple.
at? But I think like that cements your point further, like Mamushi being well placed
Hmm.
too.
Hmm.
Yeah. Another highlight. What's another highlight for you?
I mean, I think that her features on the album are great, like just across the board. You know, we mentioned UGK, Kyle Rich was great. Glorilla was like very exciting for me to see her on the album, just because I think like she was having a moment anyway, right before this, and they collaborated before this. But I think that a lot of times, like a person like Nicki Minaj on her inaugural album, like on a Pink Friday, isn't collaborating with other women who are like in the same lane. And especially not ones who uh, would challenge, right? Because I think that like Lorilla really like as another artist who's sort of kicked in the door, who's having a huge year. Who has songs on TikTok and on the radio. It could have been very much like contentious, but I think that like it also speaks to Megan not being necessarily the mean girl. Like I think that the narrative there that people are trying to spin is that like she's just mean, she's just like obsessed with herself, whatever. But the reality is she's collaborating with people who are newer, who need the listens, who need to be exposed to these audiences. She's allowing them to like open for her on tour. And so I think that that sort of it to me was really exciting. Also, like same with Victoria Monet. Like I think that like she had a huge year last year with the Grammys and everything. And she's been a huge artist. I mean, she's been like a huge writer for a long time, but like she's finally getting her flowers. And so to see that like Megan's being so thoughtful, because like she could have had anybody this album. That's just true. Like she's, I think, commercially in a very unique space where like people want to work with her. She doesn't have anything to prove in that regard. Like she needs to be able to sell this album, but the reality is people were going to listen to it. And so I think that like it does say a lot that she was so open about that. So like accent for me also great. Like I just love Glow. I think she's wild. I think her voice sounds like nobody else's voice. Like she's just different.
That might be one of my favorite verses on the album. Like it's so fun. Like the line about let me pull it up here. Like the line about I'm gonna throw a R in any word that got a U in it. And then so like she tells you like how her accent works. Like she kind of gives you like a cheat code. And then she goes aburs in it, Curbin, which is like it's so funny. Yeah. Like
it is so good. It's like silly. And like, yeah, like the thing is like, not only is it funny, it's like, it makes the song so good and so memorable because it's like, well, now I want to listen. Like, I want to be able to do this verse, like whether it be at the show or at karaoke one night, like I want to be able to do it in the exact same way because I'm smiling, like I'm having fun. And so I think that like, there is a playfulness throughout the album, even though there are so many songs where it's like she is clearly like rapping like the rent was due.
There are songs where like that, and also like the back end of the album where she gets like way more personal. The word Moody. It's like it starts with the like Juicy J, like the producer tag, and then it goes real motherfucking sad girl shit. So like there's even a song like that, there's a little silliness to it. Like there's a little bit of like hey, you don't have to worry about me too much. Like I'm doing the mental health work privately. Like this is my journal. This is like the shit I have to get off my chest and share. Like, because I'm finally ready to like be a little more public about some of this stuff. So
totally. And like it is kind of, you know, I think unique that she was victimized by Tory Lanez in a very public court case with people and like the podcast dudes, not you, but you know who I'm talking about, just picking up apart all of the evidence as if they have any real stake in it or are like legal professionals and trying to discredit her no matter how. And I'm sure like I didn't look at her comments or anything, but like I know what it's like to be harassed on the internet. And so it's like, how do you maintain this level of confidence when not only have you been like physically injured by this person, like attacked, but now you're being attacked about it forever? Because it doesn't stop even now. Like she has this huge album and it's like, there's still going to be some crusty man in the comments saying that she deserved it or she was lying or whatever. And so I think like the places where she can be honest about it, like it does speak volumes to the fact that like, yeah, you can be a hot, confident, like head of the class of like hip hop right now and also honest about the fact that like, yeah, things aren't always good.
Yeah, this affects me. Like I think when she was going through it, I'd never like maybe I wasn't following it like closely enough, but like I never saw her like crack. I never saw
No.
her like publicly like crack about it or just like
Mhm.
clap back publicly. Like I guess like in song she would, but like
Right.
just like yeah, like where like not not even like just like anyone would just like crack under this pressure and stuff. It's like
Yeah.
really awful.
Right. And just like, I think something that personal, like this is a relationship you were in that has like not only gone awry, but has become violent. And so like to have that many eyes on you when you're like in your come up, I can't imagine it. And I also am just like, that's another reason why this album means so much because it's like this is her standing on her own after all of that, in the face of all of that. Um, and like just being so triumphant. I mean, it is really so cool to see how well it's been received.
Mhm. Yeah. Also like just really quick. It's an independent album. Like this isn't through a label and stuff, which
Yeah.
is
Hot Girl
another
Productions,
yeah.
LLC. Real hot girl shit.
Let's see. Any other lowlights, highlights you wanted to shout out really quickly before we get to some lowlights?
um, I mean, I feel like all of the songs where she's had music videos, I'm also like a big music video person. And so I will say that like I think that rap music has pushed the boundaries of music videos for a long time. And I also think that like a lot of older hip hop heads don't watch music videos anymore. And they believe that like there was this golden era because of like MTV and BET and VH1 and how like we would, before school, after school, whatever, like we were watching that sort of thing. Um, I think that we're in like a golden era of music videos now, actually, because I think they're like we've kind of gone back to
Yeah.
the beginning
Yeah.
where there is like they have real directors directing them or like first time directors, and there's such a storyline and it has to do well. Um and like you can tell there's like no money in them anymore. Like every single music video is sponsored by something ridiculous. I forget. I saw one the other day. It might have been Dochi's new album, but I think it was just like the silliest sponsorship. I don't remember what it was, but like even with like I think it was the last song she did with Cardi B. So not WAP, but the one that happened last year, Bongos.
Oh,
It was like Fanta or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're getting this money however they can to film these things and they have to do well. And so it is like kind of, I think, miraculous in that landscape that she's doing something original every time. And so if it's, you know, Hiss, if it's Boa, if it's Mamushi, it's like I think that she's just really doing some sick shit that feels very in her lane and not like it's copying anybody. And so like that feels like the groundwork for longevity that I don't really see from a lot of people who are just on TikTok.
yeah. There's like there's a presence to her albums where like Traumazine was about that time, and then Good News was like the first song on Good News was about just like Pretty Fresh, the Tory Lane situation.
Yeah.
So like that's like another parallel to Jay-Z. Like Jay-Z was talking about like stabbing a guy and stuff, and like the beginning of the Blueprint.
Yes.
But like
I
that's
gotta
cool.
run back the Blueprint. And now that we've been talking about it, I'm like, what a great album.
It's a
And I
great
haven't listened to
album.
it in
It's
years.
phenomenal. Yeah, it's good. But yeah, like uh he drops the F slur a lot though, like unfortunately.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like a lot of it doesn't age well. I would say like early 2000s rap is cringe in that way, where you're just like, oh, once again, Eminem is saying, here comes Jay-Z with it. And now it's like, it was so much more anti-gay before gay marriage was legalized. And like people this new generation has no concept of it. I'm like, oh yeah, it was the trenches. Like we were all just listening to this on the radio, like with it lightly bleeped out, and the kids at school would just rap it that way.
I'm glad it happened. It's more fun to think about though. You know, it's like one of those situations.
Right. It's like the kind of thing where like I will always say, like, I think everyone still listens to Kanye. They don't listen to the new Kanye necessarily, but I think that like it's the same
like
rule
number
that I
10,
have
like for like in the world, you know, still like
right. And so I think that like there is a level of like separating the art from the artist, but I also think that like there's a time and place for everything. And so like in my mind, until Kanye was anti-Semitic, there were still things to complain about in his music for sure. But I'm like, until that point, the music before then is not tainted. It's just all this
Yeah,
crap has
yeah.
come without it. Same with like, and this maybe I will get canceled. I'm actually curious about what your audience will say. But I feel this way about Michael Jackson, where I'm like, well, the Jackson 5 is in the clear because he was a child.
He was a child, yeah.
But you don't have to listen to Michael Jackson now. Like adult Michael Jackson, you can cut that off. Like you don't have to. We're fine. That's my gray area. That's my gray area. Listen, I won't die on the hill. I'm just putting it out there.
No.
I think that everybody has what like the compromises they make, and I think that Kanye shaped culture at a time where it was so important that it's like we can't just forget it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm not going to listen to any of the new albums. Let's be clear.
But yeah, I think a lot of it's just like the state of the world now, though, just like how it is like consumerism, capitalism of just like we're all just trying to figure out. And I think Megan's navigating this a little bit in her business and her like of like what concessions should we make? Like what's like
where is the boundary?
Okay, let's have a part. I want to make a music video that looks good, so I guess let's have Fanta sponsor it. But then also like she has a song called Prime Day. Ugh.
Yeah, I know. Like, exactly. I mean, the thing is like we are in this weird moment where it's like it's too commercialized, and like I think that rap really like back themselves into a corner where it's like if you're rapping about money and that's the most important thing is getting it, then of course this is going to become like capitalist hell where it's like we are going to sell out at whatever cost because I need to be able to rap about having more money than you. It's really
yeah. Yeah, that's a really great point. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so yeah, I will say broke my heart, like just like I guess like I think we'll kind of glom strap observations with lowlights if you have any, just like because like we're almost done. Broke his heart and bass is BAS is I like something that's underrated about Megan, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but like I feel like she kind of, when WAP came out, it kind of it kind of signaled that like the mainstream was ready for kink just to be a public thing. And then so like broke his heart, like she goes off it like this really kinky, like, oh my goodness, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
but
it's so like, many things in a row.
But it's like but it's not as far as WAP. But then bass comes in, and then she says, "That ain't my bae. He's more like my bidet," which is like the grossest sex line I've ever heard.
Horrendous. Like maybe could have left that on the cutting room floor.
I think it's funny, but like it's funny and like that sounds like a punchline a male comedian would make.
Definitely. It's like they definitely want us to be so comfortable. And it's like, I mean, that's not a song that's going to be on TikTok, is it?
I don't know, like kink TikTok, like, you don't think there's like
it's like one level of TikTok. Also, like, I mean, that's the funny thing about all of this too, is like when you look at the plays by song, like that is one of the biggest hits on the record. And I'm like, it's probably because it's so explicit. Cause like, I mean, it's got more listens than Where Them Girls At. I'm like, I can't believe that. Maybe I'm just like an old lady, but I felt like Where Them Girls At was a highlight.
That's a hit. That's so full of energy. Let's coursing through that song.
Yeah. It just makes me want to clap my hands a lot.
Keep that red on.
Yes.
They do play that song at like, I do a dance class and they do that song. Like, it's a hit. It's so fun. It's, the one more note about Where Them Girls At is another funny joke in the song is like nails check, hair check, face pretty, pussy wet, and it's like, but it's like she's going to a job interview or something.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like completely out of. It's like, who are you even checking this off for?
Yeah, but it's like
yourself.
All right, like face pretty, pussy wet, phone, wallet, keys. Okay, good.
Exactly. Yeah, on my way. I'm on my way.
Yeah,
making
50
sure
minutes.
that it's all wet. Insane. Just it's like it is so goofy.
Oh, for sure. For you, any stray observations or lowlights from this album?
I mean, okay, this is such a like minor thing, but she has a song called Figueroa, but she pronounces it Figaro, and it bothers me.
What does that
Because
mean? I don't know.
it's like a street in LA. Like I only know it about that. And maybe she knows like maybe it's about something else in her mind, but like that's how they spell it out here. And like when I moved out here, there were so many street names that I couldn't pronounce that like when Google would say it, I was like, that's how you say that word. Um, and so it's like it to me, it's just like such a funny thing because I think across the board, like the world is just smaller. Like we all just know more about different places. And so like the example that I'll give is like when I was a kid, I would watch The Proud Family on Disney Channel, and they had a character named La Cienega Boulevardes, which was like such a great name. And she was like the mean girl of the group, but her name was La Cienega. And so when I moved out here and when I saw La Cienega Boulevard, I was like, I get it now, like a reference. And so I just feel like she's going to have a lot of Texas girls coming out here and they're going to be calling it Figaro and people are not going to know what they're talking about. So that's my only complaint is as I listen to the song, I'm like, is she going to say it right? Is she going to? And she didn't. That's really, I mean, I would say that's it. I also will just say, like, um, I think that we are in a moment, like, it's actually a pretty short album. It's like 52 minutes long, which isn't, there are, I think, I think Beyonce's album Cowboy Carter is like an hour and a half. Like it's pretty long. And Taylor's latest album, no edits, it seems. Like just every song you could think of is on there. And so I do think we're in this era though. Like she has a lot of songs on here, but they're relatively short. And so because of that, I just think that like a different album would have edited a few of these out. Like some of these could have been singles or just like something for Instagram. And I think that that's reflected in how like disparate the numbers are on like a lot of these songs where it's like, yeah, people aren't really like, there's not too much memorable about Downstairs DJ. Like I get the innuendo and like, we're happy for you. But I think that like, there are so many triumphs on the album that it's like, well, you could have left that out.
Yeah, like any of the lowlights are just like they're fine. Like it's like she's rapping pretty good, competently and such. Like it's like I'm not like upset. Like turn this off. This is the worst sounding thing I've ever heard. Like, the UGK, the Pimp C, like Pimp C's widow approving of Megan having the vocals is pretty sick.
Yeah.
Not everyone gets to have that. Like,
right.
And the end of the song, like, shout out to Pimp C. He's pretty cool. Hey kids, listen to that. Like it's like,
yes,
I'll
exactly.
I'll keep it real. I didn't know like as much. I just Pimp C was a name I kept hearing over. I did the Glorilla thing just then, like hurrying, like, but
yeah, yes.
But like, yeah, like it's a good excuse for like, oh, like Megan, I guess Megan likes it. Like, let's check this out. Like it's a cool use of her influence.
Yeah. And I think that like in this genre more than any other, people really like expect rappers to pay, like give their flowers and pay their respects. Like it is about paying your dues and like working your way up. So like you have to know the shoulders of people you're standing on. You have to know where the sample is from. Whereas I think like it's that culture is only now pushing into other genres. Like we see it in pop punk now where like Olivia Rodrigo is like, this is Hayley Williams of Paramore. I didn't come up with this style of music. Stop acting like I did. Don't be brand new. But like typically before it was just like, well, this is the music that's out now. And like, doesn't matter if it's incredibly referential or, like this is somebody who's from my hometown or my state and I'm not repping them. Like, I think that there is a real deference that hip hop has. And Megan really, she stuck the landing on that too.
Yeah. It's also like a good, like, fuck you, like to like someone like DaBaby where he's like,
yes,
you don't have a Pimp C feature, like,
right. Exactly. He doesn't have anything anymore. I think he just put out a song last New Music Friday and it was supposed to be him making an apology. And I was like, skip.
It's him, like it's the worst looking cover. It's like him on a Cybertruck. He's just like standing on it, like the back of his head.
It's like, who is this for? Like, please just go away for a decade and then like have a real apology. Not this like I'm back with my Scooby-Doo rhymes. Literally always. So like enough.
All right.
But yeah.
Well, yeah, let's go through final thoughts and ratings. This has been fantastic. The way this works is we'll
Thanks.
rate this out of 10 with a fun metric at the end. I can go first to give you the outline.
Sure.
I think this is phenomenal. I think this is a really good record. I liked Megan Thee Stallion before. I really like her now.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I saw her show. It was phenomenal. I wish I listened to this. I wish I listened to this album before I went to the show so I could like and do the analysis so that I could
Yeah.
really appreciate all she's doing.
Yeah.
I thought it was great, but I think I didn't comprehend all the nuances of why this is so excellent.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a great. I like it when she gets personal. I like it when she like rapidy raps. I like it when she like
Yeah.
has TikTok bangers. Um, I liked it. I even liked it when she went arigato. I thought that was
Yeah,
cool.
same. Yeah, I thought it was cute. The
Yeah.
first time I heard it, I was like, "Oh, I love this."
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna give it. Um, I'm gonna give it 8.5 bays. I made my bidet out of 10.
Wow, I'm obsessed. That's great. I mean, yeah, that seems like a fair rating. I'll just echo what you're saying. I really do think that, like, I don't know that people are necessarily like actual Megan fans were questioning her ability to rap. Like she's proven it on so many occasions, and like she does make hits. And so I think that the hits are there. I think that, for the boys who are gonna like pick it apart on their like Mean Man podcast, like they have a lot to have to sift through, and like the rhymes are good. Like there are moments where people are, I think, caught off guard. I think she's surprising. I think that the album is not the same, minute 10 to minute 35, which feels good and like unique. I think that there are some edits that could be made. I also think that like um I don't know. I mean, it's hard for, I think, rappers generally to make like albums that can be uh I don't know, commercially, like just like a hit you can play at a barbecue. You know what I mean? Without some skips, because it has to be so lyrically dense. It also like, I think a chorus is important. I think a hook is important. And I think that like she has so many songs like that on this album, which is great. But the ones that don't have it really stand out. And so I think like this is a valiant effort. I would give it 7 arigatos.
Arigato.
Yeah, 7 arigatos out of 10. I think that, it's actually setting her up really well for what the next album is, and, carrying
Absolutely.
this tour. So like I feel like it's the exact right album for this moment in her career. But like we obviously have so much more to hear from Megan.
Well, yeah, this is so wonderful. Yeah, this is so wonderful. So what a pleasure to connect and meet you. Please come back anytime. Yeah, Akilah, what would you like to plug? What's out
Of
there for you?
course.
Yeah.
I mean, in the background, you can see Rebel Spirit is the name of the pod.
Oh yeah, the
It
name I
comes out
knew.
it comes out every Tuesday. So episode 4 will probably be out around the time this episode launches. But it's going great. It's like had a really good trajectory. It's getting good reviews. So don't take my word for it. Take the 200 people who've reviewed it on Apple word for it. I love
201
it.
after this recording. Like I'll do it.
I know, right? Heck yeah. But yeah, I think if you, want a romp of somebody, I'll say I'm a Virgo, a journalist. I am thorough. I am at the library. I am pulling receipts and timelines and attention, and really like sticking it to this school. So if you're interested in seeing like justice in motion, this is a great podcast. And it sounds heavier than it is. We're talking about changing a mascot to a biscuit. So
Yeah.
how bad can it be?
It's thorough and journalistic, and there's integrity to it, but it's also, yeah, it's never boring. It's like it's a lot of fun to listen to. Some really in like ridiculous insights into the human condition and stuff like into America. Like it doesn't isn't just about changing the mascot. You do a good job of like kind of laying the groundwork of this. It's also about this. It's about this, and this is the parallel change that needs to be made in America and such. So it's really really brilliant show.
Thank you.
I'm really enjoying it a lot. Yeah, like any other work you want to just like throw out there, like for people should check out?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely also suggest following me on the internet. I am at Akilah, obviously on Twitter, at Akilah H, Akilahh on Instagram. People always think that it's like Akilah, but it's actually just Akilah H. It's very simple. But yeah, I post about more than the podcast. I have a very cute dog. I
Mhm.
post about pop culture and I make a lot of jokes on the internet. So come hang out.
Yeah, like your Frank Ocean bit, like your Frank Ocean article was really great. Like
Thanks.
him, like you like offering a lot of like empathy to his situation. Like it was really
Yeah.
beautiful. Like in a time where just like everyone's so like everyone just
Everybody
forgot.
was
Everyone,
pissed.
everyone like was so mad and they forgot. They just like
Yeah, it's like he is grieving.
Yeah.
He also doesn't want to do this career anymore. Like just let him spin out on the Coachella stage. Absolutely.
Hey, good work if you get it. So yeah, you can
Yes.
follow the show at IBMT LTT on all platforms. Me at Andrew Ambrose Lee on all platforms. Michael at Lemon Taco on all platforms. Stenley at Snap a Sten on all platforms. Those are some of our other co-hosts. Check out our Patreon show. I've been meaning to watch that. We cover movies. We also cover like I think we might cover like some like just supplemental material for musicians too, like eventually. And yeah, this is so wonderful. Any final thoughts, Akilah, before we conclude this episode?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just say give it a listen. Listen to Megan. See if you vibe with any of it. If, hip hop isn't your style, I think you can always start with some of her collabs. She has some hits you've already heard before, almost certainly. So get your feet wet. Try something new. Be meaning to listen to it and then listen to it.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good day. Click.
Perfect.